guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 260. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk on painting, modeling, and wargame experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 DVDs a week. No! Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, out of nowhere, Games Workshop showed us a new orc model and some orky teases and a bunch of new Battleforces that are kinda confusing. An awful lot of new stuff coming out, even some for other games, and there's a whole bunch of really cool hobby stuff available from EonsOfBattle.com. Over there, we have all kinds of hobby goodies, Greytide Studio bits, spice up your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, base and cork, and we got glue, ultra thin and ultra thick super glue. And we have terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit, good for any one terrain pack we've ever made, or the brand new one. New in March, we have created the Creeping Forest, a collection of mysterious living creatures that can populate a board perfectly for any fantastical wargame. Weave your models in between the scuttling crab trees, and you'd better watch your step or you'll get bit by the timber mimics. As you wander through a forest of monstrous mushrooms dripping with colorful toxins, you might come across the Land Kraken, a master of camouflage and a very dangerous encounter. This wondrous terrain collection was invented by us and is available physically and as STL from EonsOfBattle.com. All of the rumors for the new edition of Warhammer 40,000 coming out are pointing towards orcs as one of the launch factions, and so I was not thinking that we were going to get any orc anything leading up to 11th edition. But out of nowhere, we got to look at the Ork Warboss, and it is a very good Ork Warboss. There's been a lot of Ork Warbosses over the years. It's like one of the most important things in the Orc faction. You used to only be able to call a Wog if there was a Warboss on the table. It's like the Orc thing. And there was the Assault on Black Reach Ork Warboss, and then there was another Ork Warboss with Attack Squig that was basically in the exact same pose as the Assault on Black Reach Warboss. Now we've got a new sucker, and he is glorious. He is big, he is large, he is in charge, he's got a mega plower claw and a combi shooter and some very interesting customizability. Looking at this guy, they show off a few different paint jobs and a few different variations of this guy, and they're surprisingly different, but not different enough. So if you get one of these guys, you'll have one absolutely fantastic looking Warboss with either Big Chapo or Power Claw, Attack Squig or no Attack Squig, Boss Pole in like 2 different varieties. Even his legs between the 2 different sculpts, his leg armor is completely different and his crotch banner is completely different. Like there's apparently tons and tons and tons of parts, but they all build 2 identical pose Warbosses, which is kind of not the customizability that matters. Like if they sculpted different leg armors, but if it's the exact same pose, then I can't build 2 completely unique Warbosses. Like they're gonna be 2 basically identical Warbosses, but with a little bit of different clothing. I wonder how those parts work. Presumably it's just little pieces of armor that glue onto the front of his pants, but he's got like thigh armor. It almost makes me wonder if the entire front half of his legs are one piece and there's 2 different versions of that one piece. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I do like that you get to build your Warboss exactly how you want, but I do wish if they could figure out the customizability, have like 2 different leg poses. Have arm up or arm down. Like the old Assault on Black Reach Ork Warboss was not like great in terms of customizability, but you could get that gun pointed a little bit up or a little bit down or just straight. Like I don't know. If I could, an Ork Warboss is definitely something that I could totally see somebody taking 3 of in game. They're really, really good. They're actually pretty darn cheap. They attach well to just a squad of classic Ork boys. They get to have an absolute pop-off turn during the WOG. They're a really, really good unit. The combi shooter is not good because it only hits on 5s, but it can do a little something. And with the ammo squig, does the ammo squig do anything anymore? I don't know, I feel like the Ork Shooter Boy, technically Ork boys can be built 2 different ways. You can build them all with Slugga Chapo, or you can build them all with Shooter. And the Shooter, I feel like, is actually kind of slept on. Nobody owns them. Nobody's actually glued them to their orcs, so it doesn't matter. But I feel like getting 20 orc shots and then you charge into close combat and then you get 30 more punches, I feel like there's something to that as opposed to just 40 better regular punches. And during the Wog turn, that 30 punches turns into 40 punches. Like there is something to the shooter profile. And if they can get a little bit better with the ammo runt, then I feel like there's something to it. It can definitely be a little bit more interesting than I think a lot of people give the shooter boy credit for. But the Warboss is a really, really interesting kit. This guy looks fantastic. And I would have bet a lot of money that a Warboss was gonna come in the new launch box. And it might still happen. And if it does, then we're technically getting 2 really cool Warbosses, which is probably enough to, if your goal is I'm gonna have 3 really cool custom Warbosses in my army, this guy, and then the launch box guy, and then like kit bash and convert a 3rd guy. I feel like that's kind of perfect. If you're like, I want 3 and I want 3 that are as unique as humanly possible, I feel like that'd probably be enough. But if there's a Warboss here, then maybe there won't be a Warboss in the launch box. I thought that the new launch box was gonna be Orc Boys, Gretchen, Knobs, and Warboss, and probably some other things. But those are 3 things that are like necessary for an orc army and incredibly old and outdated right now in the model range. So I think that's what's gonna happen, but I did not think that we were gonna get a Warboss. And speaking of Warbosses, we also got some teases of some new orc bits. We got a sneaky little grot doing something, pulling on some kind of a lever. Then we got a super power claw and a super like shooter, super Gatling shooter gun. And I have no idea what this is. There's already a new mech, but there's not a new mech in Mega Armor. You have to buy a box of Mega Knobs and then you can convert one of those to be a mech. And the mech attached to the Mega Knobs is really good. I actually took it in a game not too long ago. And I was able to resurrect an entire Mega Knob, which feels kind of worth it. They're a little overcosted right now, but getting to bring back essentially a Terminator equivalent model every single turn is pretty solid. It could be what this is, but it's really hard to say. I don't know. A little grot pulling a little lever, and he's just standing on something. This could a little bit be like the Warboss in Mega Armor, where there's another little grot like manning a machine gun on his back. It could be something like that. The Gatling gun is really interesting. Orc shooting is historically bad and should continue to be really bad. If they're gonna make orc shooting good, it shouldn't be by giving them better ballistic skill because that's lame, that's good shooting. I think that they should fix orc shooting by just giving them more shooting. There was that Grotmist detachment from a few years ago. What was it called? Like Moradaka, that got nerfed within like a month because it turns out if you give orc shooting sustained hits too, it's too good. But arguably, the only reason that it was too good is because of flash kits and tank busters. If it was just giving like the big shooter in a squad of boys or the big shooter that's attached to a battle wagon sustained hits too, it's totally fine and ultra orky. But the actually like meant to be shooting orc units getting sustained hits too is a little bit too good. And so I would argue that they could have just said no flash kits, no tank busters, but instead they just nerfed the entire detachment and you don't see it that often anymore. I have no idea what they're trying to tease, but it's something interesting and it's something orky. But that's not all the new coming from Games Workshop. We also got some new combat patrols and Battleforce boxes, and they're kind of interesting. The Iron Warriors combat patrol, a 10-man legionary squad. Yeah, wait, how are there 2 autocannons? Oh, one of them's a Havoc. So you get 5 Havocs, 10 Legionaries, 5 Terminators, the Warpsmith, and the new Iron Warriors upgrade frame. Not the most exciting, awesome combat patrol ever, but if you did want to get into the Iron Warriors, this would be a good choice. All of these units are good. They're all something that you would probably want to have. The Warpsmith is awesome. The upgrade sprue is awesome. I have a soft spot for Havocs. I think with the +1 toughness and do they have 3 wounds apiece? They might. I think slightly upscaling the stats of the shooty Space Marines does a really good job of making them a better unit. That's kind of what Games Workshop did with Gravis in Loyalist Space Marines, where you've got the Eradicators and the Aggressors and the Inceptors, where that strength, that toughness of 6, one extra wound, does a much better job of making them much more survivable unit because a lot of Space Marine heavy weapons are actually fairly short range. And so I think the Chaos Havocs have kind of stood the test of time a little bit better than the classic Space Marine Devastator squad, just because of that extra armor and that extra tankiness. And you just get to take 4 of whatever gun you want, and then you can stack all kinds of detachment buffs and army benefits to them. It starts to get really, really good. Las cannons, 4 las cannon shots with sustained hits. You really want to roll some 6s. It gets really, really spicy. Then we got some weird stuff. The Eye of Terror Battalion, Sons of Dorn. This one is very pointedly targeted at the Black Templars. It is 2 Repulsor Executioners, the undeniably best datasheet in the Black Templars Codex. Tons and tons of people are running multiple Repulsor Executioners for Black Templars because we get reroll all hits. If we're shooting at something within range of our infantry, which we're Black Templars, we flood the board with infantry. Also, what seems kind of crazy is each Rep X is like $115. So totaling all of the stuff, the contents of this box up, it's almost $400 somehow. And so what is this box gonna retail at? Is it gonna be like a mega deal? Or is this gonna be a $350 box to kind of hold to Games Workshop's, we bundle things together and then we sell them to you at like 20% off is usually kind of the target that they seem to aim for. But I don't think there's ever been a Battleforce that really just goes insanely hard in the price. So I'm really intrigued to know what this is gonna be sold as, what the price is going to be. And also if they want to give us Black Templars something, how about you give us a good detachment? All of our detachments stink, although the new Bastion and Task Force for Space Marines is exceptionally good for the Black Templars. But it'd be cool if one of our detachments that was for the Black Templars was any good and worth playing. After that, we got the Battalion Adeptus Mechanicus with the Onager Dune Crawler, the Hover Tank, and one of the Chicken Walkers. The Chicken Walkers is one of the saddest things in Warhammer 40,000. I love them. I think they're really, really cool. But 155 point model for like $62.50 real world dollars is criminal. Like you can take them in squads of 3. That's 3 boxes. Nobody is buying enough. Like I would love to run a Chicken Walker Adeptus Mechanicus army. That sounds like so much fun. That would be so interesting. The model is really cool, but not for $60 a pop for every single tiny chicken. I think like there was some weird mix up between the Games Workshop rules writers and the Games Workshop model inventors of what this thing is, because it's sold and priced like it's a Sentinel for the Imperial Guard, but in the game, it's just a regular old cavalry unit. It's really weird. If this box was like 9 of those guys for a deal, maybe there'd be maybe something there, but I don't know, 3 AdMech vehicles for a slight discount, that's probably fine. I haven't seen an Onager Dune Crawler on the table in a hot minute, but I'm sure it can do something. Then there is the Battalion Imperial Knights. We got the Knight Tyrant, which is the Chaos Space Marine version of it. In Loyalist terms, it's called the I get all the knight names confused because it's all the same model, just with a head swap, and then nobody actually uses the head swap. Everyone just glues on whichever one they think is coolest. And then you got 2 little Armiger Warglaves. And the Armigers, I haven't looked at them that much since the Codex came out, because the War Dog Brigands, my favorite, they used to hit on 2s, now they hit on 3s. They're dramatically less awesome, and so I haven't been thinking about them that much since the Codex came out, but this is just a bunch of big stompy knights in a box. It's probably a decent deal. You would want these things in an Imperial Knights army, so that box is fine. It makes a lot of sense. Man, though, I do wonder what these boxes are gonna come out price-wise, because these are big old vehicles that are really, really expensive in real-world dollars. So are these boxes gonna be a great deal? Like, this is my opportunity to get 2 Repulsor Executioners? Or is it just gonna be a ridiculously expensive way to buy some ridiculously expensive vehicles? I don't know. But Warhammer is not the only thing getting some new minis. Hopping on over to Corvus Belli and the creators of Infinity. I have so many Pan Oceania models on my desk right now. I got like, I'm getting ready to work on some blue models. But they also have another game, Warcrow. Warcrow is their fantasy, it's not the fantasy version of Infinity, but it is Corvus Belli's fantasy war game. And it has 6 factions, well, it has 5 factions in the game, plus 1 because there is a new faction. The 5 factions are the Hegemony of Embersig, which is the largest faction, and it is the human faction. They're just kind of spreading across the world, not like conquering, but just kind of like, they're just moving out and taking over the map as the regular old humans. Then there's the northern tribes, the orcs / all of the other things that go bump in the night. It actually is a little bit like the Covenant from Halo. It's a bunch of different, like kind of monstrous factions that are all working together for the greater good, a little bit like the Tau. Then there is the Cien, the Wood Elves faction. And hilariously, if you look at the map of the world for the Warcrow game, their forests are right on the edge of Yaldabaoth territory, like the evil faction. And so it's kind of funny that you have the beautiful lush forest on one side, and then just the elephant graveyard right across the river from them. But speaking of the elephant graveyard, Yaldabaoth, the Chaos faction, although not necessarily the bad guys, they're not as bad as you'd think. I mean, sure, they want to bring about 1,000 years of eternal darkness, but from their point of view, the Jedi are evil. Then there is Feudum, the High City faction, knights, mages, super fancy armor, like nobility, royalty, a smaller number of like higher quality humans. They're really, really cool, really pretty looking models. But the newest faction for the game Warcrow is the Mounthaven, the Dwarves. And these dwarves, they're as dwarvy as dwarves can get. They love their big, like just big geometric patterns. I really like the scale mail. I think you would think with dwarves, like with that like kind of not brutalist architecture, but like kind of Art Deco architecture, you would think chain links and chain mail would be the thing, but scale mail is such an interesting choice, and I think it's gonna look really, really good painted up. I could see it taking a wash like nobody's business. The scale mail is really, really striking, and I really am looking forward to getting some paint on it. And then for the rest of the dwarf stuff going on, it's just classic dwarfy. They got axes, they got big old shields, they got big old beards, which thank you for giving them gigantic beards. Like so many dwarves, I feel like nowadays, they don't go super, super hard in the beard. I got the spearhead for the new, they're not chaos dwarves. They're the new invention of what chaos dwarves used to be in Age of Sigmar. And like half of them don't have beards, and the ones that have beards, they're kind of like delicate little beards. Like give us, I don't want a dwarf, I want a beard. Like I want that the whole beard should be the miniature with an axe sticking out of one side of it and a shield sticking out of the other. That's what I'm looking for in some dwarf minis. And these guys definitely deliver. I think these guys would be really fun to paint up. I like the humongous shields. The yellow is interesting. It reminds me a lot of the Yu Jing faction in Infinity. And I think yellow works a little bit better there, but here I would like to play around with some other colors. The scale mail is really, really intriguing, and it almost makes me wonder, maybe going blue or purple for the armor could be interesting. I feel like dwarves do typically exist in a warm palette, but I don't know, the blue is really interesting and really striking. I mean, I think the yellow is probably meant to represent gold, and dwarves are miners, and so having that like connection to minerals and just the earth is an interesting choice, but I don't know, I would really like to play around with some other colors. Maybe orange is a little much, but you don't see orange very often on miniatures. Maybe orange looks really good next to blue. That could be really funky and really fun. I don't get to paint orange nearly enough. I don't know, I feel like there's something other than yellow would really, really hit hard. These guys are super fun. They're super interesting. Oh, one guy has got an orange, like a fire orange mohawk, but then just a regular brown beard. I wonder, does he dye his mohawk, or is that like an accessory piece that he has glued to his head? I don't know. But yeah, I like these guys a lot. They're super, super interesting. They're the new faction for Warcrow the game. Right now, they're available for pre-order, and there is a bundle so that you can get all of the available dwarves in one go, including a limited edition War Og. which is like a little tech guy. He's got a bundle of pages. Apparently he's planning the next battle coming up. All of it is for pre-order right now, and it'll be available until the 26th. Then it'll just be a proper faction for the game. And I think, looking at Warcrow, I already have some Yaldabaoth. I like the Yaldabaoth. They're really, really creepy, evil-looking guys. And the lore tries really hard to make them sound a little bit sympathetic. It's like a faction of outcasts, but it's a faction of outcasts who are doing the most horrible, evil stuff possible. So maybe there's a reason that they're the outcast. And it's not like a ragtag group of rebels. It's just a ragtag group of horrible people. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. A lot of really exciting stuff coming to the world of wargaming. I've got so much stuff on my painting desk right now. I got Arena Rex. I got some 40K. I'm in a 40K league right now. And actually, my Discord is blowing up right now because I need to get in touch with my opponent to get the last game scheduled. I got a lot to do before Adepticon, but I'm working through it. Thanks for watching.